Stage.
This is my mum, Denis's mum. This is Denis's ex-wife, who remained his lifelong friend. This is Peter, Denis's son, an only child. And this is my brother Tim, Denis's brother.
You're all very welcome and thank you for coming. I think what you're going to do is read a statement for us, is that correct?
Yes.
Well, again, as I've said before, there is absolutely no rush. Take your time and pause as and when you need to.
Thank you.
All right.
I, Anne-Marie Murphy, speaking on behalf of the Murphy family, will say as follows. Denis was born on the 10th of October 1960 in Queen Charlotte's Hospital in Hammersmith. Mum says he was born with a twinkle in his eye and a smile on his face, and he kept this trademark throughout his life. Denis was the proud son of Anne Murphy and was the eldest of 4 children. He has 2 brothers, Mick and Tim, and I'm his sister Anne, and was fondly called by Denis Little Sis. Denis spent his early years living in North Kensington until 1968, when he was 8 years old. The family moved to Dorking in Surrey until 1971, when the family moved again to Gravesend, Kent. We attended a Catholic primary and secondary school, and Denis excelled in the subjects history and maths. He also participated in other activities such as the school choir, being an altar boy, and joining the Sea Cadets. There was one other passion throughout Denis's young life that was to override everything else, and that was his love of sports, especially football, in which he became a skilled player. Cross-country running and distance running. He ran for the school and district in 1,500-metre races and went on to win many medals and trophies for his sporting achievements. My brother Mick often tells the story of when he lost his bus fare at school, and Denis put Mick on the bus with his bus fare and then ran home after the bus, which was a distance of 5 miles. At that time, Denis was only 10 years old. As our father did not feature in our lives from a young age, Denis took on the responsibility of not only being our big brother, but also carrying out the role of a dad to us. He had a strong set of principles and values which he adhered to and instilled in us, his siblings, to follow also. These included to have manners, to show respect to others, to help and care for others, and to love each other. In fact, he taught us and nurtured us to grow into the adults we are today. When Denis left school in 1977, the family moved back to West London and lived just off Portobello Road, where Mum still lives to this day. Denis went on to take up a trade in painting and decorating and worked hard until he was unable to do so due to health conditions. Denis continued to play football into his adult life and went for trials for Charlton Athletic and Crystal Palace. He didn't make the grade in professional football, but continued to play football for Sunday League teams until his 30s, when a cartilage injury forced him to give it up. Denis had such a caring nature, and this was evident in his voluntary work he used to do with adults with learning disabilities, supporting them to access activities in the community, and he got a real sense of achievement from doing this. When Denis was 22, he met his future wife Tracy, and in 1984 they got a flat together in Grenfell Tower. They went on to have a son Peter together in 1989, who is Denis's only child. When Peter was 7 months old, they moved to a house in Mitcham, Surrey, and when Peter was 4, they moved to a house in Tooting. Denis and Tracy eventually divorced, but stayed good friends, and Denis decided to move back to North Kensington to be near Mum. He then got another flat in Grenfell Tower before 1997, and this was on the 11th floor, which was later to become the 14th floor. Denis remained living there until his untimely and tragic death. Denis was a loving son, father, brother, uncle, friend, and our hero. He was the linchpin of our family and touched the lives of so many people. Once you had met Denis, you would never forget his warmth, wit, cheeky smile, and love of life. Denis had three biggest loves in his life: family, friends, and Chelsea Football Club, and not always in that order. Denis was at the heart of our family, and his love for all of us was unconditional. This was as far-reaching as his aunts, uncles, and cousins here and in Ireland, and also his nieces, nephews, great-nieces, and great-nephews. Denis also had many friends he cared deeply for, and if you were lucky enough to have known him, you had a special place in his heart for always. A great source of comfort to us as a family since Denis's death is hearing the wonderful stories about him from people that we have never met before, telling us stories of how they knew Denis and the impact he had had on their lives. All of these stories are testament to the qualities he possessed. Some of these were loyalty, caring, selflessness, and his non-judgmental approach to everyone he knew and met. A story we'd like to share with you is a conversation we had with Denis at a family gathering, where he told us he had become a member of Unite, the bus union. We all laughed and said to him, "You can't be serious. You can't drive a car, let alone a bus." Well, he was serious, as we were to find out after his death, when we received a phone call and an email from the union Unite, sending their condolences and explaining why Denis had joined the union. The reasons being that he wanted to be a part of the campaign to make his voice and the voice of his community in Grenfell Tower heard, because we truly know that Denis loved his community. One of the proudest moments in Denis's adult life was when his son Peter graduated from university. One of his not so proudest moments was the day Peter became a Tottenham supporter, as Denis was a fanatical Chelsea fan. Him and Peter had lots of light-hearted disagreements about their respective football clubs, and Denis took great delight whenever Chelsea beat Tottenham. Denis had been going to Chelsea games since he was a teenager, and even travelled a number of times to Europe to see them play. Although Denis had health issues in his later years, this didn't hold him back from his thirst for life, and he spent his time helping out at a local boxing club, watching his beloved Chelsea as well as other sports, and visiting Mum on a daily basis. Mum would get great pleasure in these visits, and the daily highlight for her was cooking him his dinner after she had given him a list of errands to do. Aside from visiting and ringing Mum daily, Denis also had a ritual of ringing his son Peter, his brothers Mick and Tim, and myself on a set day every week. We would have our chats with him, and when the call came to a close, Denis would always end it with, "Love you, son. Love you, Mum. Love you, bruv. Love you, sis." And we would always say, "Love you" to him too. In the early hours of the 14th of June 2017, at approximately 1:30 a.m, my brother Tim was to receive the last phone call he would have with Denis, informing him that there was a fire in his block of flats, Grenfell Tower. Tim never imagined that this would be the last time that he would get to speak to Denis. At 2:32 a.m, Peter and myself spoke to Denis and reassured him that we were on our way to him, also never imagining that we wouldn't ever get to see or speak to him again. Other people always featured first and foremost in Denis's life, and sometimes you had to look beyond the strength he showed to understand the worry and vulnerability beneath. When we look back at the life he lived and the challenges he overcame, we really can't think of a better role model to have had.
Take your time. Would you like some water? Got some there?
Ever since Denis has been gone, there's a gaping hole in our hearts that can never be filled, and it hurts. It really hurts. We can't imagine a day when it won't hurt any less. The pain, loss and sorrow we feel is indescribable and has left us devastated. We as a family feel strongly that there is no reason in the world why anyone should have death forced upon them in such an horrific way. And the day Denis died, a part of all of us died too. To us, Denis was an inspiration, and we feel lucky and blessed that he was a part of our family. His warmth and love will stay with us forever, and he has left behind an everlasting legacy. There are 3 things that nobody can eradicate from our lives. 1, the memories we hold of Denis so dear, because he does not cease to be, because he has become memories. 2, the only possessions we have left of his now, which are a recovered handful of coins, so poignant to us as he would give you his last pennies if you ever needed them. And 3, that we feel him walk beside us each and every day. To us, his family, he really was our hero. He is our hero, and he will always be our hero. Thank you.